Come, traveler. Today, we will journey together to the sacred monastery of High Hrothgar, which is located at the highest peak of all Tamriel. You will be ascending the legendary 7,000 steps together with Lydia, your trustworthy companion, who will walk with you in her quiet strength. This immersive journey will allow you to have a moment of rest, whether you're listening during the day or at night when you're ready to float off into the night's dream world. Now, take a moment to settle into your space. Wrap yourself in a warm blanket and let your body sink comfortably into your chair or your bed. Allow your hands to rest loosely at your sides. Close your eyes or soften your gaze. Notice any tension you may be holding in your shoulders, your jaw, and the delicate muscles around your eyes. Allow all this tension to gently melt away. And now, take a long, slow breath in. And exhale it, allowing any stress or heaviness to dissolve. Again, inhale, hold it in for just a moment, and exhale softly, letting your body relax even more. One more time. Inhale deeply, fill your lungs completely. Hold it and exhale. Release everything in your soul that you no longer have use for. Now, shift your attention from your breathing to the sound of my voice. The world begins to shift around you. You hear the quiet rumble of the mountain breeze and a soft splashing of a river. The air smells heavenly. It's fresh and cold, and it's carrying the scent of the beautiful autumnal birch forest behind you. It's still dark, but as your eyes get used to it, you begin to see more clearly. The sun has just begun to sink behind the mountains, casting long shadows around you. You are standing on the stone bridge, and as you recognize right away, it's the one that leads to Iverstead, a small mountain village right at the foot of the throat of the world. The river flows lazily beneath you, and you see the colossal mountain rise before you, its peak wrapped in mist. Right now, you find it hard to believe that you will be hiking to the very top of it, but you are absolutely sure you can do it. You have been wanting to see the view from High Hrothgar for a long time, and tonight it will finally happen. You cross the stone bridge, and as you come closer to the village, the sound of the river fades behind you. Now, You can hear the lumber mill still operating even if it's getting late, the cows uttering contentedly, and the soft rustle of the wind through the birch trees. The villagers move quietly through their evening routines. As you stand here, you notice a man carrying firewood and a woman tending to her farm. It's a gentle hum of life in this tiny town, one that you could get used to. This kind of simple peace is rare to find. As you're taking in the peaceful ambience of the town, the wooden door of Vilmere Inn creaks open. A woman steps out into the fading light. She's wearing full steel armor and she has a round shield strapped across her back. She has sleek black hair and a very determined look on her face. She stops on her tracks when she sees you, surprise flashing in her green eyes before they soften with relief. "There you are," she says, and smiles at your baffled expression. Her voice is warm and steady, carrying her calm presence. "I'm Lydia. I've been appointed to accompany you on your way to High Hrothgar. I'll guard you and all you own with my life." You blink with surprise, unsure what to say. Appointed by who, you wonder, but this thought quickly slips your mind. Lydia takes few steps forward and looks back at you with her eyes glinting in the torchlight, as if asking, "Shall we?" After a moment of thinking about it, you nod. The thought of having some company on the long climb of the 7,000 steps brings comfort. As you join her side, Lydia's serious expression softens and her beautiful green eyes light up in warmth. Together, you walk slowly through the main road as the soft glow of farmhouse windows light your path. As you pass the Fellstar farm, Fastred, a young Nord working at the farm, waves at you with a wide smile on her face. There's rarely visitors in town, and she harbors dreams of becoming an adventurer just like you, and she would give anything to join your journey tonight. Lydia watches her with fond amusement and waves back at her. "See," she says softly, "I used to be just like her when I was younger, always looking for an adventure, waving the wooden sword my brother made me." She pauses, her eyes lifting toward the shadowed mountain peaks. Somehow, that memory makes me feel ever so grateful for this moment, even though our journey hasn't even quite started yet. You both share a small, knowing smile before continuing along the path. As you reach the bridge, the quiet hum of the village fades behind you and gets replaced by the rush of the waterfall below. The sky has deepened into dark shades of blue and purple, and the first stars begin to shimmer above the mountains, guiding you toward the first steps to High Hrothgar. It's going to be a long climb, both of you think silently, but worth every step. You and Lydia lock eyes just for a second and smile and begin the ascent together. The steps are old and uneven, carved from stone that has weathered centuries. After a few steps in front of you, you see an ancient ornamental shrine. Under it, there are offerings of mountain flowers and coins left by other travelers who sought the wisdom of the greybeards. Lydia steps in to take a closer look at the shrine and reads the etched tablet set into the rock. Before the birth of men, the dragons ruled all Mundus. Their word was the voice, and they spoke only for true needs. For the voice could blot out the sky and flood the land. These powerful words linger in the chilly air for just a moment before Lydia breaks the silence. I've heard that each tablet along the way tells part of the story, she says, of the voice and the balance between peace and power. Her words settle deep into your thoughts. What it would be like, you wonder, to truly master the voice, to become a tongue, the wielder of the magical thu'um, the sacred power of the voice, as the ancient Etmorans once did. You picture the dragon priests of old, their shouts shaking the earth and bending the very air around them. Such immense power could cause great destruction, yet in the right hands, it could also protect and bring peace. You think of the rumors you've heard lately, stories of a dragonborn, a mortal touched by Akatosh, who is gifted with the blood and the soul of a dragon, a hero who is able to steal the powers of the dragons and turn that ancient fury into harmony. You glance up the mountain and wonder to yourself whether the greybeards know more about these rumors. Lydia clears her throat softly, and you awaken from your deep thoughts. When you meet her gaze, she smiles softly but stays silent. You are ready to continue the journey, and together you take more steps on the steep hill, your boots pressing on the uneven stone. A few moments later, you pause beside a rocky ledge. Below, Iverstead is beautifully lit by the light of Maser and Secunda, the two moons of Nirn that some scholars in Mages Guild would describe as islands in the sky. From this height, the village seems impossibly small, as it's nestled in the safety of the mountains. The sight fills you with quiet awe. You breathe in the cold, clean air and feel a calm sense of gratitude and excitement of this adventure with Lydia before turning once more toward the path that leads higher into the night. You continue upward. The path begins to narrow down, and before long, a thin layer of snow begins to gather underfoot, crunching softly with each careful step. You pull your traveling cloak tighter around your shoulders. The increasing chill in the air doesn't bite. On the contrary, it feels soothing as you're cozied up inside your warm attire and hood. The sky above has now deepened into onyx black, scattered with what it looks like millions of twinkling stars. They're watching over you while you and Lydia make your way up the mountain, breath after steady breath, step after steady step. You have already lost count on how many you have taken, but you trust the people in Iverstead are right. 7,000 steps, they said. It almost feels mythical now, the number echoing in the back of your mind. Around a bend in the trail, another stone shrine comes into view, decorated with soft snow. With an experienced stride, Lydia dashes forward to take a closer look at it, brushes the frost from the tablet's face, and reads aloud the ancient words carved into the stone. Men were born and spread over the face of Mundus. The dragons presided over the crawling masses. Men were weak then and had no voice. Lydia lingers by the shrine for a moment, tracing the old carvings with her fingertips. You look at her as her breath is forming small clouds in the cold air, and you both stay quiet for just a moment. So it was, she finally says, quietly. The people had to live under the shadow of dragons, under their rule. So hard to imagine a world like that, don't you think? You wonder what it must have been, being one of those first mortals, so small and fragile, without voice. You nod to Lydia, and a thought begins to settle within you. Maybe this journey is all about the voice, finding your voice, and to learn what it means to speak with purpose and not just power. A gentle breeze tickles your face, and Lydia glances up the slope and then back at you. Come, she says quietly. The path won't get any easier, but we're doing well. And the higher we go, the closer we are to the greybeards. Together, you start walking again. The air grows thinner and colder, and each breath feels sharp in the lungs, yet strangely invigorating. The steps seem never ending, and you are all but hypnotized by the rhythm of each uneven stone step as you look down to your feet. After a while, it feels as though your feet are moving on their own, not by your own free will, but something deeper, like an instinct. A quiet pull moves you forward. You have purpose, a destination, a resolution. With every step, something inside you loosens. The weight of worries and the noise of the hectic world below. Here, at the mountainside, none of those trouble you anymore. It seems as time has stopped moving and you're free from the usual hurdles of life. Your inner world feels different. It's lighter, simpler. The climb narrows your focus only on the essentials. Your breath, your movement, and your heartbeat. The mountain has stripped away everything that is unnecessary, and the overpowering calm in your soul is everything that is left. The snow keeps piling up the higher you climb, gathering around your boots. You're thankful that the steps are still easy to climb as they remain free of ice, still steady and sure beneath your feet. You come upon a small, snowy overlook that opens to a breathtaking view. It feels like the perfect place to rest a bit. You pause, drawing a slow, deep breath as you take in the landscape far below. You can see the tiny birch trees of the beautiful rift forests and even tinier specks of torchlight flickering as Iverstead's guards are making their nightly rounds. Around you, the spruce trees stand heavy with snow, their branches glittering under the pale light of the moons. You pull your cloak tighter and let yourself simply be, breathing in the clean, cold air as the silence of the mountain wraps you in stillness. Here, at the overlook, another shrine stands, half buried in snow. Lydia approaches the stone with her boots crunching softly in the snow. She kneels beside the tablet and once again brushes away the thin layer of frost on top of the ancient etchings. The wind quiets, as though even the mountain is listening to Lydia as she recites the words. The fledgling spirits of men were strong in all times, unafraid to war with dragons and their voices. But the dragons only shouted them down and broke their hearts. Those people must have been so brave, she says softly, to raise their voices against the creatures that could cause their downfall with a single breath. You think how fragile courage can be, and how powerful it is when it endures. You feel true strength in yourself for doing this journey, for climbing the steps, and enduring the weather and the climb with Lydia by your side. You realize that those people of old breathed the same air and walked the same path as you. Especially here on the Mount Hrothgar, you are part of their world, and their courage inspires you immensely. We should keep moving, Lydia says as she rises up from the shrine and brushes the snow off her knees. Her armor reflects the light of the moons as she looks up to the path ahead. Maybe we could find something to bring as an offering for the next shrine, she ponders aloud and pats at her pockets and pouches on her belt. She finds a single gem, an emerald, which is the exact same shade of deep green as her eyes. She holds it for a moment between her palms as the gem glows faintly. I hope this will be enough to show our respect, she says quietly and closes her fist around it. The mountain is waiting. The two of you continue along the steps, the emerald now hidden safely in her grasp. For some reason, each step feels lighter than the last, as if you have gotten strength from the visits to the ancient shrines. It feels as if the courageous people of old in these stories were walking alongside you and Lydia and carrying a part of the burden of the climb. Here, the snow has begun to stir with the wind. It flurries against you in swirly patterns, and you pull your hood lower over your face, shielding your cheeks from the cold. The road ahead starts to change. No longer it is a steady climb up, as it now dips and rises again. The pattern of the steps becomes uneven. At times, they are steep and narrow, and at others, it's spreading into flat stretches where the snow gathers in untouched layers. The gusts of wind seem unstoppable, and you feel thankful for Lydia for standing by your side and keeping you safe from any harm on this journey. The warrior woman slows her pace as the fourth shrine appears behind the slope. You follow her as she kneels to the snowy shrine and brushes the offering bowl clean from the piled snow. Lydia opens her palms, and you share a moment, taking a final look at the beautiful emerald that catches the moon's light. "It feels so warm," Lydia says, her eyes closing for a brief moment. Her usually stable voice sounds a bit shaky. You have a feeling that parting with this gem means to her more than she lets on, but you don't want to inquire any further. Perhaps it carries a memory or a story she isn't yet ready to tell. You know that she will open up about it in time if she wants. You stand beside her and let her take her time. She places the emerald gently in the bowl, and it makes a soft chiming sound as it meets the stone. For a moment, nothing moves. The world feels perfectly still. Then, a sudden gust of wind rises from nowhere, sending snowflakes dancing through the air. And just as suddenly as it began, the wind settles. It feels as if the mountain exhaled and accepted your offering. A warmth spreads through your fingertips to your whole body. The silence feels kind and protective. Lydia exhales with a smile on her lips. "Kind's blessing," she whispers. "She's watching over us, I know it." She turns back to the shrine and reads the carved words on the stone tablet with her finger tracing each of the letters. Kain called on Barturnax, who pitied man. Together, they taught men to use the voice. Then dragon war raged, dragon against tongue. You stare at the tablet in silence as the words echo in your mind. Even among the merciless dragons, there was one that had compassion for humans. Barturnax taught the first tongues a group of legendary Nord heroes to turn the tide in the Dragon War. Whether it was Akatosh itself who intervened, or Kain, as the Nordic legends tell, this bloody war came to an end with the dragons nearly extinct. You and Lydia continue your ascent, step after step. As you round a narrow curve, you notice a shadow looming against the pale snow. A large cave opens up just ahead, dark and silent. You slow your pace down and take a careful look at it, with your heart pounding in your chest. Lydia raises her hand, signaling you to stop. Her eyes narrow as she studies the mouth of the cave. "Stay close," she whispers. "There's been talk of frost trolls around this height." The mention of them makes you shiver. You have heard about them. These creatures are strong as giants and territorial as a guard dog. Suddenly, you hear a heavy sound, a low grunt of an exhale. Lydia quietly unsheathes her sword, and the steel catches the moon's light for just a second before she lowers it to a defensive stance. If there's a troll, we don't want to wake it. You nod silently and almost smell the tension in the air. Lydia steps forward first, as silently as she could. She glances back at you to give you a reassuring nod, as if she's ready to face anything that might emerge from the shadows. You follow her lead. For a moment, nothing happens. Then, a low, guttural growl, and Lydia flashes her eyes toward you and whispers sharply, "Move, now!" You both hurry past the cave, keeping close to the shadows on the mountainside. The wind picks up again, hastening your movement, and as you're gaining distance to the cave, you realize that you're smiling. The tension eases, and both of you are now laughing quietly with relief. You keep walking with light step, and as the path turns again, it reveals another shrine buried in snow. Written on the stone tablet, another chapter of the legend continues the tale. Man prevailed, shouting Alduin out of the world, proving for all that their voice too was strong, although their sacrifices were manifold. You can almost taste the victory in these words, and the sorrow of the losses, the triumph and the cost. They must have known the price, Lydia exhales slowly, and yet they faced Alduin. I strive to be as brave a warrior someday as they were. You agree? Words feel unnecessary in a place like this, at a sacred height where every gust of wind feels like a lost soul of the Dragon War guarding the secrets of the voice. Standing here, you can almost hear them as they encourage you to move further up the mountain as bravely as they fought. The history of the Dragon War and the thu'um, the voice, feels closer now, no longer just words from old legends, but a force all around you. You think of the greybeards in their secluded monastery above, devoted to silence and peace. For centuries, they have been ensuring that way of the voice was never forgotten, the philosophy of only using the voice in a true need. You glance up the snowy trail ahead. It seems endless, but it doesn't feel discouraging. You know that your destiny has led you here, to climb these ancient steps and listen what the mountains have to teach, to discover what lies hidden beneath yourself, your motivations and aspirations. Here, at the height of the mountain, it feels easier to focus on the essentials, breath and will. You draw in a deep breath, filling your lungs up with fresh air, grounding you in. As you exhale, you feel ready to face the steps again, no matter how long it'll take to reach the High Hrothgar. As you walk forward on the unforgiving mountain path, another shrine reveals itself against the rock. This time, it doesn't stand solely on its own. There's another person studying the scripture. You stop, and Lydia does too. The figure is wrapped in heavy robes, and their face is hidden beneath a hood. As you approach the figure, she rises gracefully and lowers her hood. A woman, blonde hair braided neatly, wearing a gold and emerald circlet on her forehead. Around her neck hangs an amulet of Talos, gleaming faintly in the moon's light. She looks at you and Lydia suspiciously, but as Lydia greets her with a smile, her face warms up. "We're hiking up to the High Hrothgar," Lydia says. "I'm Lydia, and this is my traveling companion." The woman studies you both for a heartbeat before returning the smile. "Good evening. I'm Karita," she replies. "Just a pilgrim, here to meditate on the emblems and walk the steps." Lydia glances toward the steep trail behind her and lets out a small laugh. "A demanding climb," she says. "Oh, I do this trip every few years," Karita shrugs. "It's not that much of a feat, if you ask me. Though I wouldn't turn my back on the frost trolls. They like this stretch of the mountain." "We already passed one," Lydia grins. "At the cave, just before the 5th shrine. We decided not to wake it." Karita's brow lifts in amusement, but she says nothing. Instead, she turns back toward the shrine and reads aloud the text inscripted on the stone. "With roaring tongues, the Sky Children conquer, founding the first empire with sword and voice, whilst the dragons withdrew from this world." Karita exhales softly. "So much power in so few lines," she says. "Imagine living in that age and taking back your land. We owe so much to them." Lydia nods. "The more I read of these emblems, the more I think it wasn't the shouting that made them so great, It was knowing when to stop. Karita glances at her with an approval in her icy eyes. Wise words, warrior. You understand the way of the voice better than most who climb these steps. She pulls back her hood and bows respectfully. The night is still long, she says gently. You must keep going if you want to reach High Hrothgar before sunrise. Lydia returns the bow with grace. Safe travels, Karita. May kind's breath guide your way. And yours, she replies. As you and Lydia continue up the path, you glance back to the shrine. The pilgrim is still standing by it, mouthing the words from the etchings, before the mountain bends again and she is gone from the view. You know that you are so close, so very close to your destination. The air feels different now, thinner but calmer. You take a few steps forward on the snow, and the view suddenly opens up before you. To your left, in the distance, Lake Ilinalta shimmers in the moon's light. From here, it looks so small, like a silvery pond. Beyond it, you can make out the vast pine forests of Falkreath, thick and dark. To your right, the vast plains of Whiterun stretch out, a sea of tundra with faint trails weaving like ribbons across the open land. You can see old forts and Nordic ruins, mainly the bleak False Barrow, watching over the valley below. And far beyond, the jagged line of the Druadak Mountains mark the border between Skyrim and High Rock, with their snow-capped peaks. The sight looks endless, and for a moment, you can almost imagine you're standing at the edge of the world. Lydia stands beside you, equally in awe. I never thought I'd see Skyrim like this, she says, gasping. All of Skyrim, it looks so peaceful from up here. On a cliff nearby, another shrine looms, alone. Once again, Lydia approaches it and reads the words etched on the tablet. The tongues at the Red Mountain went away humbled. Jurgen Windcaller began his 7-year meditation to understand how strong voices could fail. You remember reading about Jurgen Windcaller. He was a Nord living in the First Era, and it is said that his thu'um was the strongest, not in his lifetime, but possibly all time. He was the one that created the philosophy of the way of the voice, as he meditated 7 years after the Nord army got defeated at the Red Mountain and found enlightenment. Nords had grown too arrogant wielding the voice, just like the dragons before them, and he came to believe that it should only be used in the glory of the gods and not the glory of men. Your excitement grows, and you take hasty steps forward, boots crunching in the snow. The next shrine is only a short distance away, and you can see its silhouette buried in the frost. Lydia does her best staying behind you, her armor clinking softly with each stride. You kneel before the stone tablet, and feeling grateful for the moonshine that illuminates the words, you read them. Jurgen Windcaller chose silence and returned. The 17 disputants could not shout him down. Jurgen the Calm built his home on the throat of the world. Yes, this is it. After his years of meditation, Jurgen Windcaller returned to the 17 tongues, trying to convince them to follow this new line of thinking, that the voice should be used for balance and not for domination. They refused to accept his teachings, so a battle commenced. It is said that he battled 3 days until all 17 masters of the voice were exhausted. Here at the High Hrothgar, Jurgen Windcaller set his home and devoted it to the studies of the way of the voice. The tongues followed him as they acknowledged Jurgen's superiority, and to this day the greybeards devote themselves to meditation and studying the voice. You feel a wave of warmth radiate from deep inside you. This journey is soon coming to an end, but you need to see it through. You rise from the shrine and start to make your way up the final steep stone stairway. Just a few more steps, just a few more, and then you see it. High Hrothgar, the ancient stone castle, stands solemn against the endless night sky, perched atop the highest peak of Skyrim. Its dark windows watch in silence as you approach. At the base of the great fortress, a statue of Talos towers against the rock. His stone eyes are fixed upon the heavens as snow gathers on his shoulders and sword, but his expression stays calm and wise. You feel a somber reverence as you rise the steps up to the shrine, which lays underneath the statue. You read the tablet's inscription aloud, your voice soft but steady. For years, all silent, the greybeard spoke one name. Tiber Septim, stripling then, was summoned to Hrothgar. They blessed and named him Dovahkiin. This tablet speaks in honor of Tiber Septim, the dragonborn emperor, the one whom many consider the greatest in history. He unified all of Tamriel and began the Third Era and the Golden Age. The events are a bit hazy, but in his youth it is said he learned the art of the tongues in Skyrim, and he was summoned to High Hrothgar to hear that he was to be the ruler of Tamriel. After his death, he ascended to Aetherius as Talos and made the 8 become the 9. You take in a slow breath of cold air, and beside you, Lydia stands silently. Her eyes are fixated upon the mighty statue. Then you see it, the final shrine, standing quietly beside the stairs to the monastery. Together with Lydia, you walk up to it, step by step, and your voices join together as you recite words etched on the tablet. The voice is worship. Follow your inner path. Speak only in true need. Suddenly, the sky lights up with beautiful colors of the northern lights. Usually, they dance quietly above you, but tonight, they're roaring across the heavens. They're moving rapidly, casting their colors all around Skyrim, and the snow around you shimmers with shifting hues of purple. You turn toward Lydia. The light dances in her eyes as she watches with awe. Those vivid streaks of violet reflected in emerald. Then, from the top of the final steps, the heavy monastery door creaks open, revealing a cloaked man with a long beard. Warm light spills out from behind him into the cold. He doesn't say a word, but he has a knowing smile on his wrinkled face as he gestures the two of you to come inside. You glance at Lydia. She meets your eye and nods. Together, you take the last few steps, the final ascent of a journey that began far below in the cozy town of Iverstead. Inside, the air is warm and still. Countless candles flicker across the stone hall, and braziers burn softly, shining light to the darkness. The few windows let in the colors of the northern lights are reflected from the sleek stone. It's silent as ever, with only the crackle of fire and the wind humming beyond the ancient walls, disturbing the peace. The greybeard leads you down a quiet corridor into a small chamber. 2 modest beds wait there, and beside them a wooden table holds 2 steaming cups of mulled wine, waiting for you. The elder bows deeply, with his long beard nearly touching the floor, and then silently withdraws, closing the door behind him. He disappears as quickly as he had appeared. You and Lydia are alone once again. She sits at the edge of the bed, her armor clinking softly, and reaches for one of the 2 cups. You remove your heavy traveling cloak, draping it over a chair, and take the other. The first sip fills you with warmth so rich and so deep, it almost feels divine. The heat spreads through your fingertips all the way into your spine to the weary soles of your feet. You exhale slowly. The weight of the climb and the wind and the cold, it all fades away with your breath. A drowsy heaviness begins to settle all over you. You realize how long you have been holding yourself together, pushing forward, step after step. Now there's nothing left to do except just rest. You lie down on the soft linen sheets and feel your muscles relax completely. The warmth of the fireplace flickers gently against the walls. Lydia blows out the candle on the table and settles down as well. The last thing you see before sleep claims you is the faint reflection of the northern lights through the window. And the last thing you hear are the words echoing in your head. Sky above, voice within.